I've said before that this job here is an incredible opportunity that I've been given because I'm naturally a very curious person, and I like to learn every day. I never thought for a moment that I was done learning when I finally got out of third grade. But here's the thing. Today is called Equal Pay Day. And I'll tell you something. It is a good question because in my role here with iHeartMedia, I have had the pleasure and privilege of interviewing many, many women who are exceptional executives. It didn't used to be that way. I mean, you think back to Beaver Cleaver. Mom wore the pearls and an apron and handed everybody their sack lunch, and that's the way America saw the softer sex. Times have changed. Women are more actively involved in business than ever before and running companies with great finesse and foresight. But still, equality is not in the salary department. I'm not here to start a war or anything, but I happen to run across an awesome website, Women's Leadership Live. We have one of the co-founders of that organization with us here today. Debbie Saviano, good morning to you and welcome.
Good morning, Neil. How are you?
I'm great. It's a pleasure to have you.
Pleasure is mine. I have to tell you, I do not have pearls on. I don't have an apron on.
I bet you don't. I
don't even own an apron.
That was actually not the visual I had of you.
Good.
But you have you put this organization together. There are three of you who are extremely gifted women who are helping other women get over this hurdle of equal pay. Why the significance then of April 12th? Tell me what's behind that.
Well, my partners, Linda McMahon and Stacy Shepard and myself, we came together and we wanted to do something to make a difference for women. Our aim obviously was to train women for success, however they define that. And needless to say, negotiating salaries, getting equal pay, those are crucial components because any research you look at, well, I shouldn't say any, most research you look at today will show you that women are paid less for men than the same job. We had to work up until this day, from 2016 up till now, to be equal with men in the pay factor.
Really?
And that deserves conversations, yes. That's how many days we had to do in order to be. And again, your timing with the curiosity, I think, is such a gift because we all do learn every day. How do we make changes? How do we change the dialogue and the conversations so that doesn't happen for our daughters and our granddaughters and the women coming behind us?
Okay, so by your scale, the men started earning on January 1, and the women essentially start earning today. Correct,
for equality.
Okay, so I noticed on your site here, over a 40-year career, which is what most of us have these days. I mean, it's not that far from $500,000 less for the women in the same role as a gentleman.
Exactly. And again, it depends on the role because, when women go into, most women traditionally, you mentioned that at the beginning of the segment, most women traditionally go into caring industries, if you will, nursing, education, healthcare, things that have to do with caring for others. The question is, does society view that as equal to men who more traditionally go into STEM fields, technology, science, engineering, math? So you talk about conversation, that's a good beginner because is it the job? Is it the female, the male? What is it? But the research shows that men make more. Then women are more in the healthcare and the teaching, as I was in my first career.
Yeah, since you brought up the healthcare, let me ask you this. We have a number of fabulous medical facilities here. We are well known for them. They're gigantic and employ thousands and thousands of people. And I know a lot of male nurses. I know a lot of female doctors. Do you suppose that those people in those positions are earning roughly the same thing?
That would be a really good question to challenge, and the one way to know that is for companies to do salary audit who does make more, who makes the same. And the only way you can truly know that is through a salary audit. That's going to ensure gender equality more than anything else. Let's put, we live in a time with big data. All you got to do is put the numbers into a computer, and the big data is going to come out and tell us, give us the facts. So a salary audit would answer that question.
I have never heard that term before.
Salary audit?
Yeah.
Yeah, companies, and it's one of those things that how does someone feel about that as far as if you're the CEO or the decision maker of that company? But salary audits tell you who's making what. And then once you know that, is it the same? Is there a discrepancy? Then you can make adjustments based on what the results are. But until you do those, you truly don't know, because it's people standing around the water cooler. And let's face it, very few people want to talk about salaries. Most people don't. It's kind of like a taboo subject.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons my founders and I, with Women's Leadership Live, our event in May, we want to have, and we will have, women there. Part of our speakers, part of our sessions will be on negotiating salary. How do you become an advocate for yourself? I just saw a report this morning that came out that younger women, millennials, are asking for raises and negotiating their salaries more than their young male counterparts are. So thank goodness there's hope.
Yeah, they definitely seem to have no self-esteem issues. They seem to feel that this is, and they should, this should be a normal thing.
Right.
If we're going to, women don't tend to stand up for themselves when it comes to income, do they?
No, that's it. And traditionally, women have not. They've not gone in and asked for that salary. And it's an art and it's a science to negotiate your salary. You have to know who you're talking to. You have to respond to what they need. And then the science of it, obviously, was with the strategy of knowing your timing, being prepared, having a plan, doing the research. Research is critical because you have to know what your value is in the marketplace. Because when you know that, then you know your skill set, you know what you bring to the table for the company. You then can go in and say, I need to have a raise because of this and this. And today, again, with the internet, we've got PayScale, we've got Glassdoor, we've got iSalary. All those sites will show you median salaries, if you will, for the industry.
Debbie, do you think there's any possibility that the genome is playing a part here? If you look back over hundreds and hundreds of generations, you would typically see a female, smaller, weaker, of course, back way back in time, having a subservient role to that dominant male. And then Helen Reddy came along. And suddenly women began to feel like, hey, I can do this. I'm just as I have these skills. I can do this. But we're bucking thousands of years of genetics and chemistry. Do you suppose that's any part of the equation at all?
I definitely think for sure, Neil, and I think that's why it's so important for women to be role models, for women to mentor, for women to help other women, and to be in those positions. Our co-founder, CEO, Linda McMahon, she started her business with her husband, Vince, WWE, in, the basement of their home, if you will. And look, they built that into $1 billion industry in a male-dominated world. And Linda tells many times the stories that she'd go into a meeting with her head of marketing, who happened to be a male, and everyone in the room assumed that he was the CEO. No, she was the CEO. So yes, I think traditionally men just assume that they're going to have the lead macho power roles, and women are not. And so more women stepping into that and taking other women by the hand will change that. The Institute for Women's Policy Research says if change continues at the same pace, it will take us until the year 2059 for women to reach wage parity. And I'm sure that there's not a female sitting here or a man who wants his daughter to have to wait to 2059.
Yeah, that's a really good point. There's one other thing, though, Debbie, that I've noticed. There has been a bit of a change domestically in the household. I happen to know personally,
yes.
I know personally a number of families, and I mean more than a couple, where the wife is the powerful female executive, and the husband either works some or he has gladly taken on the role of child care and home maintenance, and they've reversed roles entirely.
Exactly, and I know several of those as well. And I think that happily married couples with families recognize that you can't always have. Linda always says you can have it all, but it's not at the same time. When you have a woman who's very successful in her field, and it requires the time and the commitment of her giving, someone has to be home with children. Someone has to take on that role. And you're right. There are many families where the male is so totally committed to the family and recognizes that the woman can bring in more income, and so he takes on that role. I never want my comments to be a male bash, because I think it's quite the opposite. I think it takes male and female equally to make these changes, and we have some incredible men who are doing great things to make a difference, and that's a perfect example that you're talking about.
It seems to me that in those relationships that there is definitely very powerful and equal respect of each other.
Exactly. I agree. In all the personal cases I know of, that's exactly the case.
What do you tell women when it's time for them to try to negotiate, and this seems to be a foreign skill to so many? Stand up for yourself. I read something that you wrote about keeping a journal of your accomplishments and keep it up to date so that you can properly explain the benefits of your employment, continued employment, and perhaps advancement.
Exactly. All too often, women don't take time to document what they've done. And a year from now, we are so busy, it's hard to remember what did I do in January of 2015. So keep a record of that. Take the projects you're working on, list what those are, list what the accomplishments were at the end, also list what the challenges were so that you can overcome those for the next project, but keep a record of it. So it's kind of like your own personal resume, if you will. So when you have to talk to someone in your organization about what value you bring, you can give specifics, and nothing's better than money and percents. When you can show the value, money and percent-wise you brought to the table, that's a huge value. But we forget.
We have so many women here who are in very important, powerful positions. I certainly hope that you will find a way to book a place and bring your program to Grand Rapids, because I think this would be an immediate sellout. And by the way, I would like to have you back on the program on this date in 2059 to let us know if we did it.
Let's hope we did it before then, so we can have a celebration party. But I do encourage everyone to go to womensleadership.live.com. And it's North Texas. It's a suburb of Dallas. We have all kinds of planes coming from north to Dallas to come join us. But we are going to go around the country. So I would love to meet you, Linda and Stacey, and I would love to meet you when you're in your area.
Fantastic. Debbie, thanks so much for being on our show. We'll do it again, okay?
Thank you. It's nice talking. Have a great day.
My pleasure. You as well. Debbie Saviano, an expert on women in leadership. And by the way, the website is Women's Leadership Live. Check it out. She's one of the founders. It's really, really a good site with a lot of information that I know you'll find helpful and enlightening.